guys, welcome to my YouTube video today. So if you're watched me before, you'll notice you're like, well, you've kind of changed a little bit. Yes, I rebranded my YouTube channel to the PhD Reseller because that's actually what I am. I have a PhD, true to that, and I'm also a reseller. And I just thought it would just be a nice little catchier thing than just focusing on my business name. So you're here and you're like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever, girl. That's not really why I'm here. I'm really here because you said in your cover that you made $60,000 last year in 2020, part-time selling, okay, and then also with a full-time job. So you are probably here because you are interested in hearing more about one of those two things. So yes, this is not a clickbait. I will tell you all about my reselling business in 2020. And I will start off by telling you a little bit about my business. What do I sell? Some questions that I would ask somebody if I heard somebody talking about this, and then some tips and strategies for you to sell in 2021. Whether or not it's 60,000, maybe 120,000, beat me out. I plan on beating myself from 2020, and I hope you beat me too. Again, thank you for coming and watching my video today. I am Jocelyn and I am a part-time reseller on e-commerce in a lot of different stores, and I'll tell you about those during the conversation here today. But my channel is about providing people with information, especially new sellers or people who just want to grow their e-commerce business. Maybe you're stuck, and I like to look at data. I like to do testing of different things, and that sort of kind of goes with my PhD background, like lots of research and things of that nature. So I thought I would change it, and then I thought that I would provide probably the most important video that I've made so far. And I thought I would give people some insight into things that you can actually become, because a lot of times it just feels like you're just treading water and you're not going to get anywhere. So how did this happen? I was working on my taxes for 2020 just recently, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, you know what? You know how much money I made last year? And she's like, yeah, how much? Because I talk to her a lot, and she probably gets tired of hearing about all these reselling stuff. And I said, it's over $60,000 last year. And her interest peaked up because I didn't have any clue that I was making that much money, and neither did she. I think she always just hears about the horror stories of everything that goes into reselling. And I definitely need to talk about the benefits of it, especially the fact that, $60,000 in sales in 2020 during a pandemic, during all the post office crisis, during everything that was going on. Now, as I was thinking about how to make this video, I thought about what were some questions I would ask somebody if somebody was sitting in front of me and they said, hey, you know what? I made $60,000 last year. It's like, what did you do? Well, tell us a little bit about your business first. All right. So I thought about some questions that I would ask. So first of all, you're here because of two things. One is the dollar amount, or the fact that I worked a full-time job. So I'll talk a little bit more about both of those, like, what did I do to make the amount? And then also about my full-time job and how I have to balance that with going and doing a part-time reselling. So first of all, the first question I would ask was, well, how did you fund your business? I did do most of it through personal funds, meaning that it came out of my pocket. So those were money that I already had, whether or not it was savings. I really tried to avoid putting things on credit cards because that can just get you way into trouble. I did have a PayPal loan. If you do have a PayPal for business account, then you can get a small loan. It was less than $5,000. So we're not talking like $50,000 or anything like that. So a $5,000 loan from PayPal, and then the rest was just straight up out of my funds. So that's just me totally funding my own business. Did you have a job? What was your job like? Did you really have a job where, you have a lot of free time? Absolutely not. So I am a corporate trainer, meaning that I train new hires and then I train other people that were already working on systems and operations and processes. And the most of the time when I was doing my training, I was training new hires for 3 weeks. Now, I don't know who got rid of the 8-hour workday, because there's no such thing as 8-hour workday. It's 9. If the training was 9 to 6, that's 9 hours. Yeah, I got a lunch break that I got paid for, but for me, I want to be off at 5 p.m. and then go do what I need to do for the rest of the day. But no, we're all 9 to 6. So 8 hours turns into 9, because there's only so much you can do in an hour, right? There's only so much places that you can go and go to have lunch. If you go get some, heat up your lunch and stuff, it takes out time. Now, the other thing about my job was that when I was training, I was coming in an hour early to prep. So that 9-hour day is now 10. Now take in consideration traveling, getting up in the morning, prepping, eating breakfast, everything else, traveling back and forth. Now that turns into 11 hours. So 11-hour days, 5 days a week over 3 weeks. And then I'd have a week off where I would have to kind of catch up on the other work that I didn't get a chance to finish. Yeah. So now you say, okay, well, a lot of people work like that. Well, what about, did you have a lot of time to do? Were you training for a few hours? No, these were full day trainings. Yes, there were certain times that they would have other things to do, but my expectations was I was to be there. It wasn't where I could just run off and go do whatever I needed to do. And then also when you're a trainer, you can't just sit back and be on your phone and answering emails and posting on things. You have to be present. I can't be on my phone. The work had eBay, Amazon, everybody blocked. So I couldn't even get on there. I'd have to use my phone. I usually do things through my iPad that doesn't have internet. The internet wasn't good in the building for the Wi-Fi. So I was basically on lockdown for all that time, which is what a lot of you have to do. If you're working in retail, if you're working in restaurants, if you're a teacher, whatever the case may be, medical field, if you're a driver, grocery stores, you are all working, and we all do. We all have to work a lot. No one's sitting around kind of having some funsies. We're all working. We're working a lot. So yes, so it wasn't just a job where I was just kind of sitting around and doing a few hours a day of work and then had the rest of the day to go fool around. Okay, the next one. Did you work from home? Yes, I did. After COVID hit. I was in the office, so I did have to travel to the office until the whole nation went on lockdown. Then we were sent home. But that still didn't make a difference. It made a lot. It did help out a lot with not having that extra time to travel and being able to do things at home where I could just go print stuff up, where I didn't have to do so much prepping. I could do it all throughout the day. Like when I had a break, when I had a 15-minute break, when I had the lunch break, then yes, it did make going to do this part-time reselling much easier when I was working from home. No doubt about it. Next question. Who helped you? Did you have any help? Not wanting to go into too much of my personal life, but no, I had no help. And it wasn't like there's some significant other in the background that's sitting around and not helping me out. They just don't have any help. You can take that how you want to. I don't have no help. That means that I had no help going to the sourcing. I had no help packing up packages, no help carrying 20, 30-pound packages into my car and unloading them when I went to the UPS store to drop off some FBA. There was no help whatsoever. So there's a lot of you, single moms, single dads, people who, maybe you just don't have a spouse that is as supportive as you'd like them to be, and that you're doing this all on your own. The next question, did you have a VA, a virtual assistant? No. Like I said, no help whatsoever. I did everything myself. Did I drop ship? Yes and no. The beginning of the year, I get drop shipping. At the beginning of the year, when I've been reselling now for a while. The first thing I sold a book on Amazon back in 2008, and I think the first thing I sold on eBay was a book about the young and the restless back in early 2000. So I have been doing this for a while. So I get the desire to drop ship. And when people hear about drop shipping, they think they're just, oh, they just want to be lazy and stuff like that. Sometimes you just don't have a lot of money to put into buying inventory and sourcing those sorts of things. You just don't. Or you might have and you just don't feel like spending any more money on your darn gone business, on the side business of getting stuff. Because I will tell you, there are things that I have bought that have not sold. So I completely get it. So I did at the beginning of 2019, and that's how I really got into Amazon. Was I'll have to make a YouTube video later on about some drop shipping companies that I tried. I think I made $100. Literally, like $100. I probably had even more than that in fees, so I didn't really make anything. So did I drop ship? Really, no. So that meant that most 99.97% of the items that I sold, I either packed them up myself and mailed them off, and or I packed them up and sent them off to Amazon to be submitted through FBA. Okay? But again, I did all of that myself. Do I sell? What do I sell? Do I have a niche? Okay. I sell anything and everything I can get my hands on. If I think I can sell it, I will sell it. And you go, well, that doesn't help me out. Okay, yes. So here are some things. What are my top categories of things that I sell? Food and grocery, media, DVD books, supplies, whether that's office supplies, art supplies, and anything to do with pets. That's pretty much it. Food and groceries, media, supplies, and pets. I do dabble in all kinds of stuff. Clothes, jewelry, home goods, electronics, you name it, I've done it. So I get, I'm like y'all, I've done it all. So, but those were the top categories that I do. Now the question is, where do I sell? In 2020, I sold on Facebook Marketplace, Amazon, FBA and FBM, Walmart, Etsy, 3 eBay accounts, 1 eBay store, 2 eBay accounts, Mercari, Poshmark, and my own website. I think that's it. So a lot. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea. Like, okay, hopefully you're starting to see like, all right, so yes, so she worked a full-time job. She didn't have any help. I should keep listening because it's not like she had a guffaw of people to help her out. You might be in the same situation, and hopefully you can learn some things and find out that yes, it is possible to do. Okay. The next question I would want to know is, how much profit did you make? Because we all know sales does not equal profit. Now, I haven't completely finished my taxes yet, but I went ahead and did look at a few things. I spent $3,000 in supplies, $7,000 in Amazon fees, $3,000 in eBay fees, $5,000 in shipping, and I would say about $1,000 in Etsy fees, and then $1,000 in all the other Mercari, Facebook, Poshmark, Walmart fees. And then I probably spent about $10,000 in inventory. So that leaves me about $30,000 at the end, if I did my math right. Hopefully I did, knock on wood. So about a 40% profit. 40% profit. And so I would say, $20,000 to $30,000 in my pocket at the end of the year. Okay. And that's about average. We would all love it to be 100% profit, and we would love it to be, if it was 100% profit, everyone just come to my house, right? I wouldn't have to buy anything. Everyone would just drop stuff off at my house. I would just open up the door and people would just buy it and they would drop off cash. It'd be like a garage sale every day, but that's not the way things work. So fees are an ultimate thing that you have to take care of, that you have to do with. But there are certain things that, and when I was talking to my friend, she's like, well, how do you get more money? How do you get more money? And I said, well, I have to sell more. Fees are going to be inevitable. There's nothing that you can do to get around the fees. I got a co-host today. Say hello, Sophie. Say hello, Sophie. Okay, so you have to do other things, the fees, or you can try to, and I'll tell you some ideas on how to source and get things a lot cheaper. So other things that you can do will be a little bit better for you. Okay, So let's go on to the pieces of advice. What is the advice that I have? So you've heard about the business. Now, what are some advices that I have? So number one, source as cheap as you can. The first thing you should do, especially if you're starting out, is source out of your own closet. Everybody has stuff that they are not using anymore. Sometimes what I would just do is just go through and say, I'm going to grab 10 things that I don't want anymore that I haven't even used. And I know that sometimes it's hard to do, especially if you like your things and stuff, but try to find even just the littlest thing. Like I've sold replacement toothbrushes. Okay. So, I didn't need the toothbrush anymore. I bought a different type of electric toothbrush. I didn't need the replacement anymore. I sold it. Okay. So don't think it has to be like these big, gigantic things. A lot of people will get a lot of things from you, and especially some stuff that I have a lot of discontinued products that are still in the package. And a lot of people still want those and need those things because they have the equipment that still goes with them. So source from your own closet. Another thing to do is to ask people. When the pandemic first hit and Goodwill was closed, I put out a post on Facebook to the people in my neighborhood. I said, hey, if you can't get to Goodwill, I will be more than glad to take anything off your plate. And I would pick stuff up. People were even nice and drop them off on my front porch. Another thing that I would do was if I would make sure to be checking the page, I'd check Facebook, I would check Nextdoor. If somebody said free and I thought I could use it, I went and grabbed it. I got a couple Keurigs, I got plenty of boxes, shipping supplies, paper, all those sorts of things. I didn't need any of those things I would get some other stuff because, especially with food and groceries, you don't want to reuse things like that. You do need to have all new fresh boxes and bubble wrap and things of that nature. But if I'm just shipping off a box of books, I can just use any doggone book there is any other box that I have around. Another thing I did was I did a lot of free stuff on Facebook, and I did a lot of driving. If somebody's like, hey, you know what, even if it was maybe not totally free, but they had a bunch of stuff and they say, I want you to come take it all, I'd come and take it all. If it's something I didn't need, I could either donate it or anything of that nature. So free sourcing is always good. The other thing was my average cost of goods were really low. I did liquidations. Anytime that there was a sale going on, a new account, all those sorts of things, I would probably say that I was looking back today and I think I have the highest item that I'm selling now cost me at most $15. And on average, if you count the stuff I already had in my closet or in my house, I got a bunch of stuff for free. And then, sourcing on other places as cheaply as I can, my average cost of goods is like $3 to $5. Now, some of those things sell for $9, $10, and that's all right. But I've had stuff that sell for $100, $300. So source as cheaply as you can. The second piece of advice, prioritize it. That doesn't mean it needs to be number one. There are plenty of other things that you need to take care of. And it'll be up to you and your own personal preferences how you prioritize your life. But if it doesn't fit somewhere on your schedule, then you're not prioritizing it. Did I work on it every single day? No. There were some days I said, especially when things were really busy at work and I was really tired, I said, I got to take a day off. Maybe I wouldn't do anything on Sunday. Another thing I would do was I would set a lot of timers up where if I was going to do something else, let's say just relax, sit on the couch, watch TV, I would set a timer and I would say, if I say it too loud, she'll turn off. I say, Alexa, set a timer for an hour. And whenever it went off, I'd have to get up and go do something else. Another thing to do is I made it part of my day. So this is the hard part. Now, you will need to set it in whatever time of day that we're talking about. And this is the hardest part. There were a lot of days where I was up at 4 a.m. because I had to leave the house. If training started at 9, okay, I needed to be there by 8. So I need to leave by 7:30. Some of the days were 4 o'clock mornings. By the time I got up, got myself together, got breakfast, fed the cats, got dressed, and got all the stuff together, it was 4 o'clock, 4:30. Now, some of you are like, I can't get up that early. That's fine. Do it later in the afternoon when you get home. Stay up a little bit later, whatever the case may be. So that is the hardest part. The timing is really important to fit it in wherever you can. I oftentimes didn't have lunch. If I did have lunch, it was something really quick, 5-10 minutes, a piece of fruit, maybe a handful of pretzels, and it was go, 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 go. And that it did sometimes get stressful, where it was like, okay, I've got to get to the post office before it closes at 5, and I have to get my lunch, and I have to go and do things as fast as I can. So it did get stressful at some times, especially when things were really busy. I had a lot of orders to fulfill, and that meant that I had to start on the night before. Sometimes I would be starting a couple hours the night before and still trying to finish out the next day. I also did it during my breaks. I would go and pull something in, check the email, when did I have sales, any of that sort of stuff. So breaks weren't really breaks for me to relax. It was always working. That can get a little bit stressful, but it wasn't every day. For example, I didn't go to the post office every day. My handling time is 2 days. I can't go to the post office every day if I'm working a full-time job. I've got to have at least a 2-day handling time. So some days I didn't go to the post office. If there wasn't a lot of sales, or sometimes I split it up. I say, okay, I can finish these sales today and send these off, and then I'll do the other ones tomorrow. So you'll have to figure out what works best for you, but that was the most stressful time. Another thing that you want to do is set goals for yourself, whether or not I'm going to list every day, or I would get a box, and I still do this now. I'll get a box, and I'll fill it with stuff, because most of my stuff can fit in a box, or if they're not in a box, I'll just stack other boxes. And I would say, I'm going to get through this box today. Or I would say, I'm going to, if it was a weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and if I was working, I'm going to stop at 2. And when I said I stopped at 2, I stopped at 2. Another thing I would do is I made sure I balanced my life. Now, that meant that I still went to hang out with family. I still, did other things that, worked out, played with the cats, cooked, cleaned. I still had to do all of those things. So I made sure that I was a balance. If the cat's seen, and your kids probably do this as well if you have kids, that they're like, I need some attention. Stop. Give them attention. Most of the time people just need 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Give them some attention and then get back to what you're doing. Because if you don't, I found myself being so stressed out because it's like, I want to give you attention and I'm really tired of taking these photos and I'm really tired of trying to find out how much to price this. And I need to balance my life. So make sure that you do give yourself some balance with your family, your friends, yourself, your church, your God, your religion, whatever the case may be. Balance your life. The next thing I would recommend to do, number 4, is to constantly reevaluate where you're going with your business. If something's not going right, then stop for a second and say, okay, I need to stop for a minute and I need to figure out what else, what do I want to do? Most of the time it's like, I want to make sales. I want to make more sales. Okay, so what is it that I need to do? And then maybe I need to source a little bit different, or I need to stop sourcing. I need to get through my death pile. There were always things that I was trying to constantly do, and it was almost a weekly thing. Like, what do I need to accomplish this week? I want to do X, Y, Z. So always set goals and then reevaluate those goals and figure out if you're working on those things. Number 5, try new things, new sourcing. I did darn gone everything. Goodwill, thrift stores, liquidation, storage units. I have a LLC, a EIN, and a resale certificate. So it was wholesale, distributors, Alibaba, AliExpress, DHgate, sourcing on Amazon. I sourced off of any place I could think of. And I know it sometimes feels like a fire hose in your face. You're like, girl, that's way too much stuff. But what happens is sometimes it's like, let me go and expand and then start narrowing down. And if you don't start expanding, every business expands. Every business tries new things. If you're not in your 40s, ask somebody who's over 40 about new Coke. New Coke. And you'll be surprised the amount of the big businesses out there who have other things that you wouldn't even think about that they do. Doritos and Frito-Lay and Pepsi and all those kinds of things. They don't just make Pepsi. They have a million other little things, right? McDonald's, currently the what is it? The battle of the chicken sandwich, right? So this one's making a chicken sandwich, and that one, I want the best chicken sandwich. When they probably wouldn't even really advertise. It's like, yeah, we got a chicken sandwich, sure, right? But now it's, oh no, it's the best chicken sandwich. We got to beat Popeye's chicken sandwich. So always be sourcing, looking for different products is always important. If you are focused on one area, do something else. It doesn't have to, you don't have to go gung-ho and do it all like I did. If you like certain things, go try certain things. If you are doing just mainly clothes, try some shoes. If you're doing electronics, try some clothes. Try to get ungated in Amazon and different things. So always try different things. The next thing is also, you need to start if you're stuck, and especially if you're stuck. Now, if you're doing awesome in one area and you're like, I'm going to ride this pony and I'm doing well, whether or not it's Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, whatever the case may be. But if you're stuck and you're like, okay, well, I'm not, it's sort of going okay, but, I could use some more, start expanding out. And start expanding out on different platforms. There's plenty of them out there, and there's lots of areas for you to try and get money on. Now, I do use cross-listing software. I use Vendoo, and I use an app called Sellbrite, and those are the two things that I use. And I'll put those links in there, and those are the things I use to cross-post. It's not that hard. Now, I have run into problems where they have sold off multiple platforms, and it's the darndest thing. It's usually, the funny thing is not usually like the one product. Actually it was. I've done it 3 times where it was, both of the times were books, and then one time was a clothing item. And I had to, one time I was able to buy it from somebody else and send it to them. The other 2 I just canceled. I was like, it just happens, and that's okay. It happens. Do a lot of research. Number 6, do a lot of research. I've read articles. I've watched a lot of YouTube channels. Constantly do research. What's new? What's going on? How do I get into certain areas? Make connections. Just do your research. You're on here now watching this video, so that's a good step in that direction. 7th is look at the data. All of these sites give you a lot of data, whether or not it's the trends that are going on, whether or not it's how many people like your post, how many followers do you have, how much money are you making in sales, how much money are you spending in not inventory, but how much money are you spending on advertising. They all have data for you. So start looking at the data in order to understand where some areas where you say, what, I shouldn't be looking at that. Or look, you know what, this took off pretty good. I should continue to work on that part. Number 8, join a Facebook group. Now, one of the things, I'm in a few Facebook groups for Etsy, Poshmark, eBay, Amazon, all of them. Ramen and a Facebook group for all of them. I join them because, I need a little connection with the outside world every now and then. But the other thing is I have learned a tremendous amount from these people and these Facebook groups. One of the things that a newbie will do is they'll come in and they'll say, "Hey, what do you sell?" And sometimes people say everything, and then some people will just give you a very general. I sell toys, clothes, shoes, toiletries, makeup, perfume, And what I think people really want to know is, what exactly do you sell? And you'll get a little chuckle, and they'll say, well, I'm not going to tell you that. Or where do you source your stuff from? I'm not going to tell you that. But half the time, they'll tell it to you anyways by just the post, whether or not they'll say, hey, look, y'all, look at this great item I got. And you're like, man, someone that posted something about like a some kind of reindeer, I don't know what it was, but I would have never even thought of it. Or an American Girl doll. And she had posted it, and she's like, why do people keep asking me about this doll? They're like, because that's a high value doll. And I'm like, I know what doll to look for. And I've learned a tremendous amount about sourcing, things to look for, things to not look for, that when I do go out, it is much quicker and much faster that I know what I'm looking for, because I have read all these posts from these Facebook groups and also watching YouTube videos. Number 9, take a break when you need it. A couple weeks ago, I was exhausted. I was just exhausted. 2020 was tough. We hadn't got the stimulus checks yet. It was an up and down roller coaster. Some days you'd have good sales, other days you wouldn't. And I just felt like I was just drowning in eBay hell. And I needed a break. And I took 4 days off. Now, I still shipped, but I turned off YouTube. I turned off Facebook. I didn't turn them off, but I didn't source. I didn't list anything. I did nothing for 4 days. I needed those 4 days. And I didn't put it on vacation mode. I just went ahead and I just went up every morning. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and source. And it really refreshed my mind. I ended up working on some of my taxes and doing some other things. But if you're burnt out, it's time to take a break. And if it needs to be a month, if it needs to be a couple days, a day, whatever the case may be, you know yourself. If you need to close up shop for a little while, do that as well. Take care of yourself. You are only you once. You're only here one time. And we all love you. We want you here. We want you to be healthy. So make sure that you take breaks when you need it. Number 10, multitask. I barely ever do just one thing where I'm not doing something else. Now, I'll be packing up stuff, watching YouTube videos. I will be doing dishes, watching YouTube videos. I will watch TV, and I'm on social media, checking out Facebook groups, sharing posts, doing all those things, being on Instagram and stuff like that. If you find yourself getting a little too distracted by those other things, do the timer, right? So do the timer if you're doing other stuff. But I always say this. If you're doing a lot of other things, and such as just sitting there watching TV and playing around, you're making other people money. Those people are making money off you watching the ads and all this kind of stuff. So make sure that you are doing stuff to make sure that you are making money as well. There's nothing wrong with taking some time. You got to take some time. You don't need to. I'll do it myself. I was like, you know what? I am not going to do anything. I'm going to sit on this couch. I'm going to pop me some popcorn. I'm going to watch a movie. And that's what I do. The other thing is number 11, reinvest back into your business. If you are taking your funds and you're going out and you're buying new things for yourself, I don't think I bought myself anything in 2021. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. Now, I bought food and stuff to wash my clothes, but that was about it. I reinvested. Either I paid my bills because I need the funds for the part-time to supplement my full-time income, but I also to grow my business. So I reinvested stuff. I wasn't going out and buying things I didn't need. I wasn't going out. Probably going out to eat is probably my biggest vice. So if you have a vice, it's okay. I'm not going to sit there and say, I didn't spend any money at all. I put everything back in my business. Of course I didn't. I spoiled myself a little bit. But it was like tater tots on Monday and a beer. $10. It wasn't big elaborate things, but if that's what you need, you are your own business, and whatever you do for your business is the best thing for you, and that's what you need to do. The next thing is understand that it is hard. It wasn't easy. At 4 a.m.s, no lunches, breaks. I was packing. When I was going to the office and I didn't have a training class, I was bringing inventory with me so I could take pictures. If I had a break, I was doing something because there was no internet. I couldn't use the internet, but I could bring my camera and I could take pictures. I remember I'm looking at a photo that I've got listed of a product, and I was like, I recognize that. That's the tablecloth from my mom's house. I bought stuff when I went home to see my parents and took pictures. Now, sometimes it's up to you. If you want to do it and you got some time and to do it, but if you're like, you know what, that's my time with my family, or I don't have that luxury at work, that's perfectly fine. If it's maybe during your lunch break, going out to your car and doing a few things, scanning things that have UPC codes that you can just do the stock photo, books, writing down the condition of them, DVDs, brand new ones, those are easy to do. That's why I like them, because they're fillers, even though there's a video I have about DVDs and that sort of thing. The last piece of advice is you will make mistakes. And if you take those mistakes and you say, darn, you know what, it'll happen. You'll get scammed. You'll buy stuff that won't sell. I just watched a video about a person who had a pallet and he had mice in it. Someone had posted that they were so excited because they bought all these Beanie Babies. I was like, wow, okay. It will happen. You will make mistakes. What do you do after those mistakes? Do you brush them off and say that's a learning opportunity? Everything's a learning opportunity. You fall off a bike. Did you get back on? Yeah. Okay. You got back on. Fell down when you're skating. Run a skateboard. Skiers always fall down. Everyone falls down. Everyone makes mistakes. It's what you do with those mistakes when you're getting to them. Now, if you like this video, and I hope you did, please leave some comments. There's some other things that you have some questions about, maybe about my business model, or some comments about your goals. My goal in 2021, I don't know. Like sales wise, I said, 25% more. We're still in this horror recession thing. I'm not sure if I can get 25% more. I'd like to. Ultimately, I'd like to double it. That would be great, but I'm not quite sure if I'll get there. It's hard work. If anybody tells you that they're just going off and they're getting all this great inventory, they're listing it, and they're driving around in luxury vehicles at the beach, and maybe they are. I don't know. You know what? I don't know. I don't know. Let's just say that. But for most people, it is hard work, but it's very rewarding to be able to set your own goals, to set your own schedule, to say, I'm taking 4 days off, and I could have put everything on vacation mode and said, I'm taking 4 days off. You don't have to call in to sick to work. You don't have to tell somebody that you're going to do something, can you cover for me? I was just off for 4 days. It's like, I just can't, I need a break. So those are the things that I hope you get out of this, that it's possible. And I know with a full-time job, it's extremely challenging. And hopefully you'll see that it's not just a full-time job. For me, was a job that was 11-hour long work days over weeks at a time. And it was exhausting and it was tiring. Some of you have help. And if you do, that's great. That's awesome. Some of you don't. And if you don't, there's usually always somebody that can help you out. If you're really struggling, if you need some help, I'm sure there's probably somebody in your life that can help you out. Any comments or suggestions, I would appreciate it. And I hope you enjoyed, and good luck in 2021. And I hope we all make awesome money and great sales and even bigger profits this year. Okay, take care.